The past few decades, democracy in our region has been balanced on a knife's edge. We walk around on eggshells trying to balance a massive trade with the Chinese Communist Party, not being too critical so that their heavy-handed trade sanctions won't cripple us again. We have welcomed the Premier of China into this place, celebrated by a gun salute and a drop of our finest wine. But I have to ask, what was the Albanese government toasting? Were you toasting the deliberate injuries inflicted on Australian Navy divers last November by sonar pulses from a Chinese warship? Were you toasting the crippling trade sanctions on Australian agricultural products? Were you toasting locking up innocent Australians like Chang Li in Chinese prisons? Were you toasting the more than 1 million Uyghurs who have been held in detention by the Chinese Communist Party since 2017? Or were you toasting the Chinese Communist Party's erosion of democracy in Taiwan? As a middle power, Australia has a role to play in ensuring that Taiwan's future is as bright as its democratic past. Like many territorial disputes, this is not an issue that has been brewing for a couple of years or even decades. China's dispute over Taiwan goes back centuries. Once upon a time, China controlled Taiwan for just 212 years, just 212 years out of the 30,000 years of people living in Taiwan. The people of Taiwan continuously reject reunification with the Chinese Communist Party, with less than 5% of support for the reunification in Taiwan. The Chinese Communist Party has no business in destroying democracy in Taiwan. The people of Taiwan need an international community with a spine. Australia must stand up against the Chinese Communist Party and back more than 22 million people of Taiwan who choose democracy and freedom over the authoritarian of the Chinese Communist Party.
UN Resolution 2758, however, did not mention Taiwan and did not determine sovereignty over Taiwan. Taiwan is a major trading partner for Australia and supplies critical componentry into global supply chains. A strong Taiwan is good for Australia and good for all economies in our region, contributing to growth that all regional partners should be striving for. We in Australia respect the will of the Taiwanese people, including the democratic principles they share with Australia. Australia has consistently reiterated continued support for a peaceful resolution of cross-strait issues according to the will of the people and without resorting to threats or coercion. We also support Taiwan's meaningful participation in international organisations, as a member where statehood is not a prerequisite, and as an observer or guest where statehood is a prerequisite for membership. One example is our support for Taiwan's meaningful participation in the work of the World Health Organization and Taiwan's participation as an observer in the World Health Assembly. As was demonstrated during the COVID-19 disaster, such viruses do not respect borders. Taiwan's meaningful participation in the forums and technical committees of the WHO would be to the benefit of the people of Taiwan and the world.
In 1971, the United Nations Resolution 2758 was passed with the intention of granting the seat occupied by the Republic of China in the United Nations General Assembly and Security Council to the People's Republic of China. The resolution does not mention Taiwan or address its political status. Despite this fact, there is an ongoing and egregious campaign currently underway from the PRC to reinterpret the resolution and misrepresent what the resolution actually does. It must be made crystal clear and affirmed without question or doubt in this place that Resolution 2758 does not establish PRC sovereignty over Taiwan. Any assertion to the contrary is not just false, but should be considered an active attempt to undermine the true and genuine objectives of the resolution. We must be diligent in opposing such disinformation, because attacks on truth are also attacks on democracy. It is deeply regrettable that the representatives of the PRC continue to distort the meaning of Resolution 2758 in support of the One China principle and to alter historical documents to change Taiwan to Taiwan Province of China. We cannot allow any individual or group to undermine the genuine meaning and importance of Resolution 2758. As such action is in direct opposition to both Australia's initial intention in supporting the 1971 resolution and our current position on China and Taiwan. It is crucial in this place and throughout the world that we are strident in our condemnation of deceit and resolute in our promotion of truth and historical fact.
Australia has long endorsed Taiwan's meaningful participation, and this is a view that the government reiterates today. Excluding Taiwan and its 24 million inhabitants from international organisations would constrain the world from being able to engage effectively and develop solutions on the transnational threats that we are facing. Bodies like the World Health Organization or the International Civil Aviation Organization require international representation, and the government will continue to uphold this view. It is important to note, as we've heard from previous senators, that the United Nations Resolution 2758 was adopted in 1971, doesn't address the political status of Taiwan. It doesn't authorise the People's Republic of China, the PRC, to represent Taiwan in the United Nations system. It doesn't extend the PRC's sovereignty over Taiwan. It is rather regretful that as years have passed, so too has the push by the PRC and its representatives to reinterpret Resolution 2758 in support of its One China principle, and to change the meaning of these historical documents.
I believe Australia and the rest of the world should recognise Taiwan for the independent sovereign nation it has effectively been since the 1950s. Taiwan is highly industrialised, technologically advanced, socially cohesive and democratic. Taiwan has all the features, characteristics and institutions of the modern nation state, including self-determination. The regime's highest priority is to capture Taiwan, most likely by force, and turn that beautiful island nation of 24 million free people into another oppressed, polluted, communist hellhole. Communist China's frequent military harassment of Taiwan is aimed at provoking a confrontation to justify an invasion. It's extremely dangerous brinkmanship that puts lives at risk. The only thing keeping the communists in check is the formidable power of Taiwan's military, another feature of its independent sovereignty backed by the United States. The so-called One China policy is a polite farce that does not reflect reality and appeases a communist regime.
In regard to Australia's policy, the Australian position is not that we agree with the PRC's One China principle. Australia's policy is that we acknowledge that the Chinese government holds a particular position regarding Taiwan, not that we endorse that position. That is a significant distinction, and it's important that Australia's position over such a critical issue is not misrepresented in our country, either inadvertently or deliberately. It matters because the Chinese government has made repeated public statements about what it refers to as reunification of Taiwan and has specifically stated that it does not rule out any measures, including military force, to achieve that aim. And the Chinese government has, on a repeated basis, conducted military exercises practising encirclement of Taiwan and regularly sends fighter jets into Taiwan's air defence zone.
The brutal reality for those of us in this place and for all Australians, nation axis of dictatorship and authoritarianism, which is now working together in ways that we had never previously thought possible. This alliance is seeking to increase quite rapidly its sphere of influence, and part of that is through a wide range of multilateral fora and international agreements, and by stealth, and as other people have said, by gaslighting, in China's case, Taiwan. Now, as I said, this alliance is cooperating in ways that we had not thought possible. But they have come to understand that the enemy is my friend, or something similar to that. But each of them do understand the importance of collaborating and joining in their industrial bases to support each other's aims. Now, we have seen for many years the impact of that in terms of non-kinetic attacks on our nation in a wide range of areas. But sadly, it has never been more important for us to stand with like-minded democratic nations against what these four nations are now doing and the threats they present. We now have two kinetic wars. It's not just non-kinetic anymore. We've got Russia in Ukraine. We've got Iran in Israel and the Red Sea using three proxies, Hamas, Hezbollah and the Houthi. We've got China, who are now preparing very rapidly to cross the Taiwan Strait. And of course, North Korea ever longingly looks across the DMZ at the Republic of Korea.